Good day. On October 6, 1973, two Arab countries launched a blazing attack on Israel, namely Egypt and Syria, orchestrated what has become known in history as the Yom Kippur War. That attack against Israel lasted just 19 days. After 19 days, those two Arab countries lost significant parts of their territory. The Egyptians lost the Sinai and the Syrians lost the Golan Heights. How did Israel win this war? They had the full support of the United States, Britain, and some other countries in Europe. And after winning this war, 19 days later, there was a ceasefire. The Arab countries who were in OPEC were not too happy about it, and they placed an oil embargo on these countries that helped Israel win this war. That oil embargo had a nasty effect on the economies of United States, Britain, and the Netherlands, who the Arab countries in the OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, then felt that their support for Israel turned the tide in that war. That was a moment of strong Arab solidarity. Over the course of time, the world changed. There was an overturn and great change in Iran, one where a theocratic government came in, the Ayatollah came in. There was a theocratic revolution that led to changes in that neighborhood, and that made Iran to become not so comfortable, not so seen to be nice among many of the monarchies in the Middle East. There was also problems with Saddam Hussein. He invaded Kuwait. In short, there was fracturing in the unity of the Arab states, and that fracturing was exploited very effectively by America. Eventually, also, America became the global hegemon. There was a unipolar world when the Soviet Union collapsed. And with America being the complete and total backer of Israel, Israel became the predominant regional power in that neighborhood. All the countries in the Middle East did their best to buy arms. America sold them arms. America protected them. America purported to be protecting them. And America made one great Arab country, the Iranian nation, to become the enemy of almost all the other countries. Only one country in the whole of the Gulf and the whole of the Middle East had good relationship with Iran. And that country is Qatar. After all these years and after all these changes within the region, something very dramatic happened today. For the very first time, Qatar, that's a country that was barely a year old or too old during the Yom Kippur War, rallied all the countries in the Middle East today to show a strong show of solidarity in an attempt to show a response to the attack in Doha of negotiators of Hamas by the Israeli military. Good day and welcome to my channel, Ebima Amungo's Perspective on Global Affairs. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments regarding the opinions I expressed in this video, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. Qatar did something very significant today. Qatar held an emergency meeting of all the Arab countries, and among them, they had countries from the Organization of Islamic Nations, countries of the CGT. In fact, it was thought to be, there was participation by several countries, and at the end of it, they gave 25-point declaration reaffirming Arab and Islamic solidarity. It was an unprecedented event. No event had happened like this in a long time. We should try to understand which country this Qatar is. In 2017, Qatar was sanctioned or embargoed by three very powerful countries in the Middle East. What was their sin? They had good relationship with Iran. They tended to also have good relationship with the government in Palestine and Gaza. And for that, the powerful states of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Bahrain put an embargo on them. Qatar has always been quite controversial within that neighborhood. But Qatar is very rich. Qatar hosted one of the best, considered the best World Cup in 2022, that World Cup that Argentina won. And Qatar has been rich because Qatar may not be very rich in oil, but Qatar has one of the world's largest reserves of oil, of gas, pardon me. And that gas, through the technology of liquefaction, has become the biggest product that they sell. They are one of the largest exporters of liquefied natural gas. That has given them a lot of wealth. That wealth they have translated into political activism in that region. They support quite a lot of causes, and Qatar is quite influential. But this particular action by Israel has rallied the Arab world in a manner that has not been seen since the Yom Kippur War, since 1973. No time has there been any show of solidarity of the Arabs as it has been shown today when they met in Doha. This meeting brought all the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council, and then it brought age-old enemies, countries that you can consider to have been not too friendly with each other in recent times. And it was an expression. What came out of it was that ultimately, though it was chaired by the Qatari Emir of Qatar, Chairman Sheikh Tamim bin Ahmed Al Thani, the meeting brought together heads and government of foreign ministers, senior officials from the League of Arab States and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It was a show of solidarity not seen in several decades. We should know that, first of all, Saudi Arabia had a problem with Qatar. They have put that problem aside. Bahrain had a problem with them. Egypt had a problem with them. But in this case here now, where Israel is a threat to the Middle Eastern countries, Israel has the view of these Middle Eastern countries is that Israel has a greater Israel agenda, and that greater Israel agenda is one where they all hope one day Israel hopes to continue to take land from each of the countries around its neighborhood, especially Saudi Arabia, Syria, and it has extended itself. Israel is the only country that doesn't have a clearly defined map. And this event today brought all these leaders in solidarity. We have in this place here countries that have made up of different Muslim ideological strands. One of the greatest things that divide the Arab world is their ideology or the doctrine of Islam that they pursue. Wahhabism, Sufism, Salafism, and Shia. This is the cause of conflict in many of them. We should know, if you're a Christian, you will recognize that there's also conflict between the Orthodox, the Catholic, and the Protestants. These have created conflict over several generations, and it is not different with the Arab world. Iran is principally a Shia country. Saudi Arabia is a proponent of Wahhabism, and Turkey and all these other countries also share. But Turkey is unique in this particular strand among all these. Turkey used to be the global hegemon, with the regional hegemon within that neighborhood. All these countries came out of the Ottoman Empire, most of them. They were all territories owned by the Ottoman Empire until the Ottoman Empire lost that part of the Middle East after the Sykes-Picot agreement in World War I, after they were on the losing side. This meeting also made countries that you could never thought were close to each other before. Here we have Mohammed bin Salman and the president of Iran, Pezeshkian. The president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian. Iran and Saudi Arabia had been at odds until recently when China brought them together. China is the one who brokered a peace between these two countries as recently as just 3-4 years ago. Until then, they were sworn enemies because one is Shia and one is Wahhabist, and they had been divided. But somehow the Chinese convinced them to share a common cause, And after the meeting, they had at the sidelines of the meeting, they met. The meeting was chaired by the Qataris, and it was one where big and small details were. At the end of the meeting, though, it was a 25-point agenda that came out, and it first essentially said that they should try and have more solidarity among the states. The summit ended with the adoption of a 25-point communique which states denounced the attack, reaffirmed solidarity with Qatar, and called for tougher international accountability and measures against Israel. Qatar warns that it may impose oil embargo on nations backing Israel against Doha. Qatar demands all of the OIC to boycott all kinds of relationship with Israel. Pakistan, which is the only Muslim country that has a nuclear warheads, said that all Muslims could work to cancel Israel United Nations membership. Meanwhile, Turkey, which is now the biggest, one of the world's largest supplier of arms, has made itself available that they can sell arms to all the countries of the Middle East who choose to buy arms from them. Erdogan says Turkey is ready to share its defense capabilities with broader countries in the. As regards to King Jordan the King of Jordan, Mohammed, he called on Muslim countries saying our response to the attack of Qatar must be clear and decisive. How clear and decisive, that we don't know. These actions of the Islamic countries may not be taking place if it wasn't for the fact that we are now almost certainly in a multipolar world where they do have an alternative. For the past generation, 30 years, when America was the global hegemon and we were in a unipolar world, it was one where it was either British arms or American arms, predominantly American arms, that was sold in this region. But now with China, in fact, one of the interesting things is that the United Arab Emirates, who usually, and even the Saudi Arabia usually holds defense. They hold events where they defense air shows and defense exhibitions, and they bring all the other countries in the world to come and exhibit their arms there. This time around, UAE has banned Israeli companies from taking part in their air show. So this event is a watershed in history. It's the first time that Arab countries of all strain have come together in this manner and this form with one common agenda, knowing fully well that they have the backing and they have the backing of, or they have an alternative. They have an alternative because now we're in the multipolar world. China is there, Russia is there. We saw how Russia was welcomed. President Putin was welcomed very effusively when he visited UAE and when he visited Saudi Arabia particularly. He was welcomed and given a very good, powerful welcome until Donald Trump came along. No president, global leader has been given the kind of show of solidarity as President Putin. Xi Jinping has been one who plays his cards in a different way. He usually holds a summit, China-Arab summit, has most of these kings and all these leaders come to China and he meets with them there. The Chinese are very subtle in their own approach. They don't want to create the impression that they are moving into the turf that is predominantly that of America. So what they do is now they have trade, extensive trade in the with all the Middle Eastern countries. They by far they are the biggest trading partners. Their trade is more diverse, while the American trade is that of helping them with oil exploration and security concerns, selling them arms, very large volumes of arms. The Chinese sell all the consumer goods and all the consumer products, and to that extent, China is the biggest trading partner of all these countries now because their trade outside of security goods and military hardware and oil and gas related exploratory things is bigger, much bigger. In some countries also they are building high-speed rail lines. I know of the Mecca Medina rail line that I think that was a Spanish company, but one of the lines there between Jeddah was built by Chinese. The Chinese are increasing their presence in the Middle East, and they're also slowly inching into the oil industry. So it was a very important one today. We really know that this show of solidarity, this backing and bite, we don't know if this back will have a bite, but it just shows, a signaling to America that there is definitely strategic options, and that option means that America should try to rein in whatever they may be trying to intend to do, is that they may be trying to tell America to rein Israel. Those days when Israel had impunity and would do everything without any form of consequence may just be over. This definitely will scare the Americans. And already the Americans have dispatched their foreign minister. The foreign minister is unapologetically a supporter of Israel. Marco Rubio he has been to Israel, he met with Netanyahu, and he insists that even though an ally was attacked, he will find a way to repair it. He always parries Israel's role in the whole of this event, and rather he believes that it is the fact that Hamas is holding on to their own position, and the fact that some European countries are trying to recognize Palestine, that is the problem. How Marco Rubio definitely will not be trusted by these Arab leaders because they know where he stands. He clearly is a protege of Maria Mandelson. He has shown clearly that he's on the side of Israel, and this may just be a problem with them. Qatar, though, has done something unprecedented in the whole of the Middle East, and we may just be watching a new turning point, a watershed. In this multipolar world, China is an option for the Arabians. Russia is an option also. Already, some people are even talking about the Qataris and most of the Middle Eastern countries that it may be in their best interest not to rely on the Patriot missile system, but they should rely more on the S-400 system of the Russians. But if there was any victor and any country did so well in this meeting, it definitely is Iran. Iran, in its war with Israel, showed that they could stand up to Israel. Iran gave Israel a black eye despite the full support of even countries within the Middle East. Most of those countries who are in that meeting today did support the American action against Iran. They provided their airfields. They helped the Americans to hide their weapon systems that were within the reach of Iranian ballistic missiles. And they tried to shoot down quite a number of Iranian ballistic missiles on their way to Israel. But the very power of Iranian missiles, the kind of the fact that they defied both America and all the coalition of countries that were supporting Israel and dealt very dangerous and deadly blow on Israel, showed them that Iran is a power they should reckon with. Definitely, Iran showed serious intent. They have shown that they are a force to reckon with. If Iran moves ahead and somehow adds possession of nuclear bomb to their arsenal, that is the end of it. No country will dare them again in that region. They have survived all these years in isolation. They've been sanctioned, blackmailed, isolated, made a pariah country. And but now they are very much in the fold of the whole Arabs, and all of them now. Already we even hear them offering their missile systems to the Qataris, but we're sure that it hasn't gotten to that point yet. The second biggest story today is that of Russia stating categorically that as far as they are concerned, they're already at war with NATO. Peskov has said that NATO is de facto at war with Russia. Kremlin spokesman, according to him, the support the military bloc provides for Ukraine makes it a party to the conflict. Peskov feels that there's just no way. 41 countries are helping Ukraine. Everything about this whole war is empowered. Ukraine's empowerment comes from NATO, and for that reason, as far as it's concerned, they are de facto parts of participants in the war. And he was responding to the fact that the Polish foreign minister Radoslaw Sikorski was questioned about the idea of security guarantees, and Sikorski said no country is willing, no NATO country is willing to send boots on ground. Everybody is making they are posturing that they will send people on ground, they will send boots, but nobody wants to send their people and get blown up by Russia. The Russians have shown that they have the capacity to hunt you down wherever. And if you become a participant in the war, that simply means that they will now be able to send some of those missiles raining down on your countries. We've seen how ineffective aircrafts have been in this war. Aircrafts and air dominance is one that is the aircrafts and all the planes stay very far off, very, very far away from the battle lines and shoot their missiles and run away. They don't come. Even the Russian planes send their bombs and their missiles from very far off because they really don't know. They are not as effective. Missiles and drones have defined this war. But one of the things too that happened, since drones are the most important aspect of the war, we got a very important um, fact. The drones got into Poland, drones got into Romania, the Poles insist. And for that reason, NATO has said that they possibly may be joining in trying to shoot down NATO drones in Ukraine. But today we got a response from Medvedev. Medvedev, already we know, is the hawk in this whole matter. And Medvedev gave out a tweet today in his Telegram channel where he said, Kiev has been blessed by a visit from none other than the Estonian defense minister. He said some pretty angry stuff. So we are very scared now. Smaller a country is, the more aggressive the idiotic is the officials are. Formidable European initiative called Eastern Century is quite amusing too. Looks like it's the only thing that remains in the coalition of the willing. Seriously though, if they go ahead with the provocative idea floated by the dimwits in Kiev and elsewhere to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine, allow NATO countries to shoot down our UAVs, it will mean only one thing: a war between NATO and Russia. Let's not kid ourselves. He has said it very clearly. If any country comes in, send any of their planes and come into Ukrainian airspace and say that they are shooting down Russian drones, it simply means that they are now participants in the war. They can give missiles and give bombs and everything, but as long as they are not the ones flying it. And the British today did something interesting. They sent some of their typhoons. Already we know that the Danes had already sent them, Netherlands had sent some of its planes to Poland. And the Polish president has also approved that foreign companies, foreign countries can send their military hardware into Poland. Yes, the president just signed that into law a few days ago. And this Medvedev has warned clearly that if any country comes and shoots down any of Russia's UAV, then that's war. Now, about the stealing of Russian property in the guise of loan to Ukraine backed by Russian assets as collateral, an idea cherished by assorted freaks from Brussels and EU countries. Should it happen, Russia will go after EU states as well as the denigrates from Brussels and individual EU countries that attempt to confiscate our stuff until the end of time. With everything we've got, these claims won't be dismissed due to acquisitive prescription and no statute of limitation will save them from being brought to justice for the international crimes. We'll go after them in all possible international courts. This is what has made Medvedev feared. Some may take him serious, some may not take him serious, but he is very emphatic. There's no niceness, there's no subtlety in his own language. He is firm, he is assertive, and and you will not say that he is not of consequence in Russia. Just a few days ago, he became 60 years old, and but he has been president of Russia, the only person who has been president of Russia in the past 30 years. All the other 25 years has been Putin. He has been prime minister of Russia on several occasions, twice. And for that reason, you know that. And he's now the deputy chair of the Russian National Security Council. He still is influential. He's just a few heartbeats away from the presidency if anything happens. And he is hawkish. He's not holding back about being hawkish. He tells them that if you shoot down one of our UAVs, this is not a joke anymore. And we know that the Russians have been investing heavily. What we see them do in the waves of drones that they send, almost getting to 1,000 now. The last count was 810. It shows a capacity that is quite frightening. No country in the whole world has that kind of capacity. And we know that industrialization and industrial mechanized systems of doing things have moved far away from Europe. They're now in China, and they're slowly inching their way back to America, but still not there. America is still miles away. It takes America one year to build a ship, as Donald Trump said, while the Chinese build well over 50 ships within that 1 year, if not more. So this is the kind of displacement and the kind of disparity in industrial capacity. Russia wisely, and this war has given them the prompting, the push to reindustrialize, believe in themselves, in spark of innovation. War does that all the time. The Ukrainians too have become very adept in producing a lot of things, to the extent now that at the early part of the war, a lot of countries were coming to teach Ukraine stuff. Now it is them who come to learn from Ukraine. And Ukraine now has seen that, well, since the Russians have complete air control over their country, the Russians send in drones and Zircon and hypersonic missiles at will, which they can't stop. Even sometimes targeting the Patriot missile batteries directly. All they need to know is know where the coordinates are, and they will target it. Those systems, those don't seem to have any defense against the Iskander missiles that come after them. And it is for that reason now that we are hearing that countries like Denmark are now offering to host military industrial complexes on behalf of Ukraine, where they will build drones and they will build other military hardware. It simply means that the strategy will now be that the Russians will be guiding every single entry port, and the Russians may be very, very circumspect of every good entering into Ukraine, whether it is marked as commercial or marked, they will not know the difference, and they may just start attacking indiscriminately. That is just what may happen, to the extent where the Ukrainians will feel the heat. The strategy will change. So NATO ring fencing Russia, increasing activity in Finland, increasing activity in Poland and Romania, and suggesting that they will go into a no-fly zone is trying to escalate to the point. Already Poland has said they are not going to be part of any new fly zone. Poland knows their limit. In fact, they are getting irritated with the large amount of immigrant Ukrainians they have. There's antipathy towards them now. Slowly, things are turning against them. Donald Tusk was saying it the other day that the welcoming nature they had for Ukrainian refugees is changing. Large bodies of Ukrainian refugees. Now we see even AFD politicians on German TV stations talking about how the percentage of Ukrainians who go to work in Germany is very low, somewhere within the region of just 20% to 30%, while the rest, I bet, all collect benefits, whether you work or you don't work. And that is making a lot of Germans very unhappy, because they work and they pay taxes, and they still have to go through a hard process to getting benefits when they lose their jobs. But for those Ukrainians who come, whether they work or they don't work, they get the benefits. So today also we got the news that President Trump and President Xi Jinping may be talking to each other soon. There was the fourth round of discussions between the Americans and the Chinese over their trade. And that fourth round of discussions ended up with a framework. I think at the heart of it is TikTok. They want to find a way to sell TikTok. My prediction is if the Americans make any request that the Chinese don't find palatable, they will pass on the sale of TikTok and they would rather allow TikTok to go dark in America. Those days when China will be bullied are gone. And China always uses the word American bullying, you cannot bully us, in all the press statements they make. They are very conscious and are very aware of those 100 years where they could not say anything, no matter, even if it was Portugal, Spain, Italy, Germany, Russia, or any of that alliance of 8 that conquered them in the Boxer Revolution. Any country within that alliance of 8 could say anything to the Chinese and they would dare not say anything. That 100 years of humiliation has gone. It's a new China now, a resurgent China that is growing, and a China that represents the second pole in the multipolar world. That multipolar world that is giving the Middle Eastern countries an option, giving countries in Africa an option, giving Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil an option, so that if they can't get their way with America, they'll go somewhere else to find better conditions for their country and their self-interest. This is where I end my video for today. If you have any comments regarding the opinions I've expressed, please put them in the comment section. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Do well to like and share. Until I see you in my next video. Goodbye.